All right. Welcome, everyone, to this episode of PEPTalk, Productive Environment Podcast. We are joined today by a special guest. I'll be introducing you to him in just a few minutes, Adam Zuckerman, and you guys are in for a treat today. Very quickly, I am Andrea Anderson, CEO of Productive Environment Institute here in Carolina Beach, North Carolina, joined by my partner, Barbara Hemphill.
I'm Barbara Hemphill, founder of Productive Environment Institute, and I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina.
And Adam, I haven't done your official intro yet, but go ahead and tell them where you're joining us from.
I'm in Potomac, Maryland, just outside of DC. It's great to be here.
Awesome. We always love telling people where we live for some reason. I guess so you guys can feel connected to us around the world. So go ahead, Barbara. You look like you're going to say something.
No.
Okay. All right. I want to introduce Adam to you. I'm really excited for this talk today because Barbara and Adam have already met and brainstormed together. I'm just learning about Adam. I'm super interested and intrigued by what he teaches. And I was just telling him our audience is going to absolutely love this because, I'll explain why when I get to the end of his bio. So let me tell you about Adam. Adam Zuckerman is the founder of Buried in Work, a company that simplifies estate planning, end-of-life tasks, and estate transitions for individuals, families, and businesses. He's an attorney, MBA, and Eisenhower Fellow with a diverse background that spans finance, media, consumer packaged goods, and clean energy. Buried in Work is often referred to as the most comprehensive end-of-life resource available, with 40 plus information hubs, 2,000 plus articles, 100 checklists. You know, you guys, we love checklists, guides. We love guides, and templates. We love templates. A podcast, 20 directories, and a range of specialized products. So Barbara and I are thrilled to have you today, Adam. And can I just start with the first question?
Yeah.
Let me just ask you the first question. The title, Buried in Work, how does that connect with the estate planning piece and anything else you want to share beyond that?
I didn't expect to found Buried in Work. It was actually an accident. My dad was over at my house and we were doing a project in the basement, making a cabinet, and he walks up the stairs and he said, "Adam, I'm tired." And when we say we're tired, we drink some coffee, we take a nap. When he says he's tired, he goes to the hospital. And the reason why is that 6.5 years prior, he was diagnosed with leukemia for the first time. I actually donated bone marrow to him, which is a crazy side tangent we can talk about later.
Wow.
And he goes to the doctor and runs some tests on Tuesday. They check him in on Thursday into Hopkins in Baltimore, and he dies 12 days later. Crazy quick.
Wow.
And his sense of humor, he loved puns. He was just a funny guy. Like 5 days before he passed, we were just in his room in the hospital joking around, and a nurse walks in and he knows her by name. We'll say her name's Barbara. And he goes, "Barbara, why is a giraffe's neck so long?" And she looks at him like he's crazy. "Andy, what are you talking about?" And he goes, "So it can reach its head." Like, that's just his sense of humor. So when the company was born, we wanted to come up with a website that was a little bit tongue-in-cheek in honor of him. Buried in Work is exactly what happens when people go through estate transitions for the first time. On average, it takes 570 hours to administer an estate in the country. And it makes for a really cool logo as well. It's actually a coffin if you look at it. So there's a lot of hidden gems around the site and Easter eggs if you take the time to find them.
I love that. Let me share a quick comment from Tony. She said, "Loving it already. You had me at Simplify." I told you our people would like this. Tony is she's one of our team members. She's one of our trainees to be a certified productive environment specialist. Thanks, Tony. Yeah.
Well, I'm so happy that Adam's here because when I started this business 46 years ago, the biggest question that people asked was, how long do I keep things and how do I keep things organized? And one of the issues was I would sit with people whose loved ones had died, and they would be in horrible grief over the loss, but at the same time, very angry that they had been left with a mess. And that happens so often. One of our certified productive environment specialists, when she goes into work with a client, the first thing she asks them is, "Do you have a will?" And it's amazing how many people, 80% of the population, doesn't have a will. And there's so many, and we've dug through boxes and boxes and boxes of paper that people were afraid to throw away because they came from people they loved and they had to, wanted to deal with it in respect. This business is based on clutter is postponed decisions. And the reason that people have trouble making decisions is because they're afraid they're going to miss out on something. They are afraid they're going to forget something. They're afraid they're going to offend someone. They're afraid they're going to not remember something. They're afraid they're not going to be responsible. In fact, I've joked that the word archives ought to be spelled O-U-R, chives. Because what I've seen with individuals and companies is we save enormous amounts of things for other people because we want to be responsible, but then we can't find them. And so there's piles and piles, and then people are, to your point, buried in work. So that's awesome, name. And I'm so thrilled that we met you.
Well, thank you.
So if you want to elaborate a little bit about what you, so just to clarify, let me ask you this. You said the situation with your father, was that what encouraged you or kind of inspired you, I would say, to do this, to help?
Yeah, it was an organic process. So like you said in the bio, I've got a somewhat unique background. I'm an attorney. I have an MBA. I've worked in big companies like Discovery, where I was the entrepreneur in VC. So go fix file sharing or invest in startups, or we have somebody jumping off the top of Mount Everest in a wingsuit. How do you make the show better? After that, I was selling nuclear power plants to prime ministers and heads of state and ministers of energies around the world. I was on 54 flights in 1 year, 90% international, kicked my butt. Actually resigned from there so I could spend more time with my wife. And that's when everything went crazy. My dad came over 3 weeks after I resigned. So I had plenty of free time, which was a good thing, given how complex everything were. And I started helping my mom out with the estate transition because I was named executor in the will. And when I showed my mom's financial planner what I had put together, literally at this date, at this time, I called this company. I followed up with this template. Here are the next steps I need to take. Here's the status of this specific account, what needs to happen. And here's why I reached out. I was told it was the most thorough system they had ever seen, and I had to give it away. So I'm 45 now, or will be in a few months. I grew up watching cartoons. When I heard that, the devil popped up on my shoulder and said, "Hey, she's lying to you. She just doesn't want you to move your mom's money because she knows that you have power of attorney." But the angel was going on the other shoulder, kind of organized, maybe you should. So I showed a bunch of friends. I showed people my mom's age and her friends as well. And every single person said, "Adam, type up your notes. You can make a website. Just help a few people out." And that's what I thought I was doing. I built a very simple website. I posted to 4 websites, including Facebook and LinkedIn and Nextdoor. And in a week, we had over 10,000 visits to the website. And
in a week.
In a week.
1 week.
1 week. We're now pushing up to 1.5 million unpaid organic impressions every 28 days in Google search.
Wow. Unpaid organic search.
Unpaid organic. Wow. And what we rapidly found out was that people didn't just want information of this is how to do it. They wanted actual help of this is the process you go through. These are the products you can use. And from there, that first website, we just expanded and kept expanding. And now there's a team of people in various capacities that are working to create what we're calling the hub of the internet for estate planning and end-of-life tasks. So if you have a need for something, you come to us. If we don't have it, we will either build it for you, or we will send you to a partner that we found, or help find a partner to help you work on that process. And things are going pretty good.
That's amazing. That's incredible. I was just sharing with you before we started that we have several of our team members, our certified productive environment specialists, work with clients who are in this situation. And some of our specialists are in the situations themselves. And I was sharing one of them she called herself the CEO of her father's life. Because we struggled with what to name, like, what is that person? Is that person the caregiver, the estate plan? Like, what is that, the adult child of someone who's doing all of this work? What do you call them?
Oftentimes the volunteer.
Volunteer. Okay.
He or she who drew last straw.
Last straw. You're not volunteered. It would be more accurate rather than volunteer.
Yeah. But at the same point in time, it's also one of the most important roles you can play for the family.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating and it's confusing and it's scary because it's complicated. And the good thing is that these processes often follow specific steps, rules, or laws that once you have an idea of how to actually follow through them, or you've gone through it, it's a lot easier. So if you had to administer an estate the second time, it's going to be a heck of a lot easier than the first time. And that's what we're trying to do, is create all of those checklists, point you in the right direction. So you have your probate 101 for your specific state. An example, and this is something that Barbara and I believe talked about when we first met. We got an email once from someone saying that they were in the hospital and they were there because their mom fell and hit her head. But while they were in the waiting room area, the people next to them were complaining that every single, I think 2 weeks, they were receiving 4 rolls of toilet paper from Amazon, and they couldn't stop the toilet paper from coming. And the reason why is because the person they were visiting was non-responsive in the hospital for months now. They couldn't get into his Amazon account to turn off the recurring orders. So we went through and we reached out to 100 of the largest companies in the country. And now we have a free database of these are the support contacts and how you shut down accounts with each individual company, because that's going to save people time.
Wow.
And that's the level of detail that we're coming up with, from card games to our clear kits, which are the most comprehensive organization kit on the market, to articles and everything in between.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the clear kits. I saw the name and I'm intrigued, but I didn't dive deeper. So can you tell us about it?
All right. So it's an acronym. We like puns and acronyms on the site. Clear Kit stands for Comprehensive Legacy and Estate Administration Resource Kit. So effectively what it does is it helps you organize all of the information that you know for a comprehensive estate plan. And when most people think about an estate plan, they think, do I have a will? Do I have a trust? That's exactly what Barbara mentioned earlier. The stat is that 2/3 of Americans don't have a will or a trust. And while that's a really important stat, that actually decreases. So it gets better as people get older, which makes sense. But that also means that a lot of people don't have a will or a trust. Now, there's so much more to comprehensive estate planning, though, on top of that. Do you have pets? What happens to them in the event something were to happen to you? In the event you can't advocate for yourself, who gets to make those decisions? If something were to happen to you, who needs to be called? What do you want to have happen in your end of life plan? Do you have legacy messages? Who are your medical records, or who has them? Where are they? And what this kit does in the most organized fashion possible, working with subject matter experts across the board. Like literally for the pet section, we work with veterinarians. For our binder 2, there's 3 binders in the deluxe kit. We work with certified financial planners and estate planners. You have a very easy to understand and clear way to find the information that you need, so your heirs don't have to go on a scavenger hunt.
Wow.
Yeah.
Love it.
When I say the scavenger hunt, we mentioned that it takes 500 plus hours, 570 on average, to administer an estate. And that's literally why it takes so long, is that scavenger hunt. So if I invited you over to my house to cook dinner, right? And we had all the ingredients on the counter, bottle of wine, music's on, doors unlocked, ovens preheated. It's going to be a nice, relaxing, fun evening, right? But if you come over, I'm not there, the door is locked, you have to break down the door to get in, you don't know that the chicken's frozen in a freezer downstairs in a back room, it's going to be a lot more stressful. And it's not that you couldn't do it, it's that you have to go on this search. And that's what we're doing, is we don't want people to have to go on that search. And we've developed tools and resources to make it so that search doesn't have to happen.
There are 2 principles that PEI that advocates that fit perfectly. One is half of any job. I learned from my father as growing up on the farm. He was a farmer, and he used to say to me, he would show me, because he was pretty poor and we had these junk piles, and he'd used to cob things together because he couldn't afford to buy something, and he'd say, Barbie, half of any job is having the right tool. Well, we've amended it to say half of any job is using the right tool, because I suspect that there are people that buy your kits, but then don't always get it done.
Yes.
And that's where we can come in, because one of the things we've learned is that people are, I mean, it's my truth. I'm far more willing to be accountable to somebody else than myself. So if I want to get something done, I need to tell somebody else I'm going to do it, and then I will. And the other thing is that what we call Hemphill's principle. If you don't know you have it, or you can't find it, it's of no value. And the thousands and thousands of boxes of papers that we've gone through the years are there because they know they're going to need it someday. And then the someday comes, and suddenly they're with these piles of papers. So the Clear Kits is the tool, and it's the way to make sure that they're going to be able to find it.
Barbara, you could not be more right. So inside our getting started booklet that comes with the clear kits, the first 3 steps is one, it is commit to filling this out. So literally sign your name, because when you sign your name, it gives you more impetus to do it. Step 2 is tell 3 friends or family members that are very close to you that might be involved that you're doing it for the exact reason that you said. Because if you do it and they don't know it exists, it's as if you didn't do it at all. And then the third step is get started, and we highlight the most important sections to start on. But what you said about a lot of people buying kits like this, whether it's our kit, one of the other ones on the market, because there's several different options, just pick one. I don't care if it's even ours, but pick ours. It's a pretty good product. A lot of people buy them and they just sit because they have good intent. They don't get around to it. They don't have time. Something comes up.
Well, and it deals with, don't you think, Adam, that a lot of it is the emotion? I mean, you have to deal with, we all know we're going to die, but we don't like to think about it. And yet it's something we should do at any age, because we all have examples of somebody who died very young with young people now too. So, but I think that's the reason that doing it, having someone with you, like we do these boot camps where people organize their offices. And one of the things we found is the reason the virtual boot camps work is because, one, there's accountability. You're coming at a particular time. But the other one that has made a huge difference that we didn't anticipate making such an impact was the community, because there's so much shame around disorganization. I really should have this together. And the people who come on our boot camps are smart, they're intelligent, they're successful, they've done lots of things, and they don't want the world to know that this is such a problem. And so then when they get on there and they say, oh, you mean I'm not the only one, it really makes a difference.
I love that idea. And let's figure out a way that we can link these up. So let's have a scheduled community that goes through these. And day 1, you're going to do this. Day 2, you're going to do that. And over a course of 3 weeks or a month, you have everything knocked out.
Oh, that would
That's my
I just get goosebumps thinking about that, because it's such a gift. I always tell clients, a lot of times people won't organize their papers for themselves. And so then I'll ask them, do you have children? And then it's like, okay, is this the mess you want to leave their children? And that will get them. The
former deputy chief technologist for NASA, he literally said, leave your heirs the gift of organization after seeing our kit. And it's on the side of our boxes now that it comes with.
Wow.
You're not just doing it for yourself. You're doing it for your spouse. You're doing it for your kids. You're doing it for everybody else in your life.
It's the best gift. There isn't any gift that you can give that's more powerful or more meaningful than that.
Yeah.
It's your legacy. Going back to what you mentioned, though, about people not completing it, we completely understand and agree that getting all of this information is a daunting task for a lot of people. So we actually just released last week a new product called the Executor Summary Report. It's included for free with all of our clear kits, where in under 30 minutes, you can get a 20-page report created based on your specific situation. Again, it won't create your will. It won't write down what your bank accounts are, but it'll tell people which banks you bank at, for example. And it is the starting point guide to help people go off. So that's on the website too. It's the Executor Summary Report. I'll send them to both of you for free. You guys should check it out.
Awesome. Would love to.
Talk about a great tool. That is really awesome.
Yeah. I do have a question. You both touched on it briefly. Let's talk about age, because I think a lot of people think that estate planning, end of life planning is for old people. And that number has changed as I'm in my 50s now. Old people are different now than I used to think 50 was old. Okay. So talk to us about that. Are you only thinking of people that are in retirement age, or, because, we all have examples of people that things have happened to them that weren't in retirement age. So how does that work for you? Same?
It is always easier to update than it is to create fresh, especially in times of stress. What we say is that you need to create your comprehensive estate plan today for tomorrow, and it needs to evolve with you over time. When you turn 18, we think that's the time when you should start putting in advanced directives, have your will in place, and it literally evolves with you. And with 10 to 12,000 people in America turning 65 every single day, the number of people by the end of the decade literally will double that are over 65. But that also means that the sandwich generation, the people in their 40s and 50s that are caring for kids and themselves and their parents, is also increasing. And it is just as important for them to have their affairs in order, life events, go and revisit, as it is for someone who's 60, 65, 70, because like you said, you never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
I
Wow.
remember when I first started in residential organizing, I'd only been in a few months, and one of my clients, the wife was the client. Her husband used to complain that how expensive I was, and back then I think I charged $35 an hour. And she looked at him and she said, "The alternative is a psychiatrist." So that was the end. That was the end of that discussion.
Your organizer could be your psychiatrist.
But one of the things that every time I come, he was so proud of it. He had a notebook, was probably 3-4 inches thick. He had lots of property. And every time I would come, he would bring that notebook out and he would show it to me. And he'd say how every month he would go through it and update it. If I die, this is what you need to know. This is where the mortgage is. And all. That was my first exposure to how important that was. But it was such a comfort for his wife because she didn't really know what was going on, but she knew that whatever she needed was in that book. And he had 2 children, and 2 children needed it. And unfortunately, the longer I was in this business, the less often I saw things like that. And I think part of it was because of the transition from paper to digital.
Yeah.
Because it was like we had some of it was in paper, but then companies started doing it in digital, and nobody taught us how to organize digital. And so then it got more complicated and harder to deal with, which is the reason that putting this clear kit together to give people what people say, where do I start? And you just said, you're telling them that's the question people always say to me, where do I start?
Yeah.
You answer that question.
Exactly right. Where to start? Come to the website. Actually, let me do a share.
Yeah,
I'll show you real quick.
Show us around.
Screen. So if you come to the website here, we have information hubs. And in these information hubs, there's estate planning 101, end of life 101. And there are roadmaps that you can literally go through saying, step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do this. In the event that you have a conversation that you want to have with your parents, if you're a millennial or a Gen Xer, we even have a start the conversation hub that there's a free quiz that'll give you a score 1 to 10 of how organized the estate is for you to handle it yourself or someone else's, with then text messages that you can send to your loved ones. Or if you really want, we'll even step in and help you with a facilitated Zoom conversation to help you answer those questions. Now, if you want to have conversations with your family in a less, difficult situation, we have card games. One More Story captures the stories that you'd want to ask from loved ones before they pass away. There's 126 questions, 6 categories, literally developed on card stock with game designers and clinical social workers. So it has a matte linen feel so people with dexterity issues can hold it better. Like that's the level of detail.
That's incredible.
Yep. Nothing Left Unsaid is the other one. It's the more estate planning side of things. Do you have a will? Where's the original? Do you have life insurance policy? The questions that you need to know. And if you really want to get fun with it, we have a game, Death During Dinner, that lets you host a party with these 2 games.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Right? But these are the type of things that people need. And when you talk about things getting really complicated after somebody passes away, we have resources like funeral planning. So if you're, oh no, that moved. So we'll go to a different one. The link must have changed. This is the problem with creating so much content. We will go end of life funeral planning. There we go. So this is final resting place instruction sheets. If you're curious about Christianity or Hindu or Jewish, LGBTQ+, Muslim, secular, we literally have guides. So if you're unfamiliar, you can learn about traditions, mourning practices, the prayers. There's a fact for each one. We want things to be really, really easy for people, one place, and that's what we're building.
That is incredible. Oh my goodness.
One of the things I'm really excited about, I adopted a disabled child who's now 53, and she lives alone, and she lives in Iowa. I live in North Carolina. She lives in Iowa. And so I'm trying to put everything together for her. And so it gets complicated when you're in different states and whatever. So it's like, wow, this is going to be such an awesome tool for me
Totally. I've got to share a couple of comments that are coming in from some of our team members. Juliana says this is an excellent resource and I look forward to diving into the info. She's one of our certified productive environment specialists and she helps clients with this kind of thing. So I know you guys are chomping at the bit to dive into this stuff. And then Kathy is another one, Kathy Music, New Path Productivity. Often the fear of the process prevents people from starting, even if they know it is for the best. These resources minimize the friction. Fabulous. Yeah. Very well said. Amen.
Oh my God. I need to use that quote on the website. I love it.
Yeah. You want to screenshot it?
Yeah. Send it over after. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
My favorite quote on the website, we helped somebody save $403,000.
Whoa. $403,000. Okay.
So her husband was in the hospital. He wasn't paying bills. She went through one of the checklists that said, you need to make sure that you understand the most important bills. Like, who cares if Netflix doesn't get paid? But it turns out that her life insurance policy that they had been paying into for decades was going to expire in 2 days. So they called up, they got an extension, they overnighted a check. He passed a week later and she was paid out 2 months after that. She literally would have lost $403,000 by not understanding what bills need to be paid.
Wow. There's an ROI for you. Oh my goodness gracious. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell this last quick story as we wrap up. Guys, make sure you go to buriedinwork.com. And I know you guys will anyway, because it's just amazing. It's just fascinating stuff. But I had very close friends that they were in their 50s and they had 6 very young adopted children. And he went into, I want to say 50s, maybe late 50s. Anyway, he ended up in a coma. Long story, but he was in a coma. And while he was in the coma, he was such a great husband that he did everything for his wife, including put the gas in her car. She never put gas in her own car because he would come to her and get her car and take it to fill it up with gas. Like that, he did everything, including all the bill payments and everything. And so when he came out of the coma, the very first thing she said to him is, "What's the password to the computer?" Like she couldn't go in and pay any of the bills or see any bank account. She had none of that. And this was not an end of, they didn't think it was an end of life thing. And it wasn't, thank God. He dealt with some amputations, but he recovered and, they're thriving. So
but that story got even more complicated because she didn't have instructions. So she immediately paid off a whole lot of bills thinking she was being responsible. Okay. That's one of the things. Well, it turned out it wasn't in her best interest that she had paid off all those bills, because then when they were trying to get help for their medical debts, it made it complicated. So, I mean, that's just one example of how complex this is. To have the voluminous resources that you have is just gold. So thank you so much, Adam.
Yeah.
This is wonderful.
I want to be clear. It's not just me that's building this. There are a lot of people involved, but I'll take credit for it.
Yeah, well, but it takes a leader,
That's right.
One of my taglines is great leaders create great cultures. And we say productive environment is an intentional setting in which everyone can accomplish their work and enjoy their life. And it seems to me that Buried in Work is a great culture and it is a productive environment.
Yes, so absolutely.
So this is how fast people work. Like the link now, the funeral planning one, it's now fixed. There we go.
It's already fixed. Now you didn't do that. You have
somebody else did it for me. I love it.
You have wind beneath your wings too, because we talked about Ed's is the wind beneath our wings. You've got somebody, and it's not Zeke. It's not your dog.
Together we are better. That's the name of this game.
That's right. Let me share a couple of things briefly as we wrap up, and I'm going to give you the last word, Adam. But I just want to share. You guys have heard Barbara and I mention our boot camps. We have an office transformation boot camp and a digital transformation boot camp. And you can go watch a free webinar about it, productiveenvironment.com/webinar. It'll give you all the information about kind of our philosophy in organizing paper, organizing information. And then you can check out our boot camp. If you want to go directly to the boot camp, we'll put all these links in our description. So you can always go directly to the boot camp as well, officetransformation-bootcamp.com. And I really believe that Buried in Work is like literally, we've got to bring that in, and then it'd be the next step as people are getting things, everything else decluttered and organized. So yeah, I want to just do one quick thing. She's going to kill me for this, but my mom is on here. She's in the background. So she's 8. Hold on. I'm going to tell you her age. There's mom. There's mommy. Adam, my mom she'll be 83 next month. And she is actually part of our team. She is part of Productive Environment Institute. And so she has been learning all these things, and we have this tool called the SOAR board, which is an electronic, we're going to put all your stuff in it. It's going to be amazing. But it's an electronic tool where you can find anything that you file in seconds, whether it's on paper in your filing cabinet or whether it's in digital. And she has everything already bulleted out exactly. She's got her funeral plan, which isn't going to happen for at least another 20 years, in my opinion. But she's got the songs she wants sung. She's got everything in order already. So she is very proactive. So I want everybody to take notice and take advice.
Marge is a role model for us all.
That's right. She is. All right, Mommy, I'll let you get back to being comfortable behind the scenes.
Looks like she's in a gamer's chair. That's awesome.
She does she loves solitaire.
Okay.
But yeah, I want to give you the last word. Let me go back to your website, Buried in Work. What's the last thing you want our people to hear from you?
We're doing some really fun things at the site as well. We've got a line of products that are funny mugs, like My Dog Inherits Everything, to World's Okayest Estate Administrator t-shirts. We filed this week for our nonprofit, which is really neat. So we're going to have a sister organization to help out communities that are typically underserved. And the way that we get to fund all this stuff is by people buying our products. So if you are interested, I'd love for you to take a look at either the clear kits, at our card games, at some of the other content. If you have a business, we work with HR. We're going to be partnering with you guys, I hope, pretty soon to get on the market more. But if you have questions, if you need resources that you don't have, seriously, go to our contact page, send it in. We will see what we can do to actually create it for you.
That's awesome. That is awesome. This is great. You guys, this is not the last that you'll hear of Adam, for sure. We've definitely have got some synergy here. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up and end the stream. You guys, everybody that's listening and watching this now, whether you're live or watching the recording on YouTube or wherever, you know somebody that needs this video. So please share this video, like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share this video, because this is important work being done.
Probably somebody in your family. So this is a great opportunity to open that conversation. And Adam mentioned that he had the thing in there about starting a conversation. This is a great conversation starter. So thanks, Adam, for joining us, and look forward to lots more conversations.
Thanks so much.
Thanks so much. All right. Bye, guys. See you next week.